In section 6.3, we are solving percent problems, and we do this by using percent equations. And the first step to that is translating to equations. There would be objective A, and then B, objective B would be to solve basic percent problems. So to solve a problem involving percents, it's helpful to translate first to an equation. And to distinguish the method discussed in this section from that of section 6.4, we will call these percent equations. Obviously 6.4 is following this section here. So here are the key words, and it's really important that you know these for translating problems into equations. The word of translates to multiplication, either with a multiplication dot or with an X. That's not a letter X, but a multiplication indication. Is translates into the equals symbol, equal sign. What translates to any letter, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. And percent translates to multiplied by 1/100th or multiplied by 0.01, which of course is the same thing. So these are the key words: of, is, what, and percent. So for the following exercises, we are to translate to an equation, but do not solve. So 12% of 50 is what? So based on what we know, of translates into multiplication. That is 12% of 50 equals what? And remember, what translates to any letter. That we can make the letter A. Could be B or X or Y, but we just choose it to be A. There's nothing special about that particular letter, A, that we're using in this example. B, or rather number 2, is what is 40% of 60? Remember, what is a letter, and we can choose the letter A again. And is translates to equal, so A equals 40% of is multiplication, 60. And remember, at this point we're not solving this, do not solve. For number 3, again, translate to an equation, do not solve. 45 is 20% of what? So 45 is, and is stands for the equal symbol, 20%, and the of is multiplication, and what is a letter. Let's make it the letter B this time. Again, there's nothing special about the letter B. We could use A again, or the letter C, or any letter we want. And number 4, 100% of what is 60? Well, 120% of is multiplication. What is a letter? Let's select B again. Is equal symbol, equals sign, 60. For number 5, again here to translate to an equation, do not solve. 16 is what percent of 40? Therefore, 16 is equal symbol. What percent? And so let's choose the letter P for percent. Of is multiplication, 40. And number 6, what percent of 84 is 10.5? So what percent? We use the letter P. Of is multiplication. 84 is, that means equals 10.5. Really make sure you understand how this works, how we translate these percentage problems into equations. Now, for number 7, we take the next step. Obviously, first of all, we need to convert this problem into an equation. What is 12% of 50? So let's choose letter A for what equals, for is 12% of 50, which is 0.12, 12% times 50, and that is equal to 6. So the answer is $6. For number 8, 64% of 55 is what? So it's 64% of is multiplication. 55 is stands for the equal sign. And what, let's call it B. 64% is 0.64 times 55 equals B. And 0.64 times 55 is 35.2 equals B. So the answer is 35.2. By the way, notice that here there was a dollar sign involved, so that's why the answer has to have a dollar sign also. Here in the number 8, there were no units of measure. In other words, there was no dollar sign or anything else. Number 9 is a guided solution problem, and that is 20% of what is 45. Applying what we've learned before, 20% of 20% of is multiplication. What is a letter? In this case, B is equals 45. Now we want to isolate B, which means we divide both sides by 20%. So 20% times B divided by 20% equals 45 divided by 20%. Here the 20% cancel, so we've isolated B. So in other words, B is equal to 45 divided by 0.2, because 20% is 0.2. So B is equal to 225. Number 10 asks, $60 is 120% of what? So we set up the equation, 60 equals 120% of multiplication, what? Let's choose the letter B. So now to isolate B, we divide both sides by 120%. So 60 divided by 120% equals 120% times B divided by 120%. On the right hand side, the 120% cancel, so we've isolated B, and so on the left side we have 60, and 120% is 1.2, and 60 divided by 1.2 is 50, so B equals 50. So then the answer is $50. And it's $50 because we began this with $60 The symbol or the unit of measure is dollars in this example. Number 11 is another guided solution example. And so the question is, 16 is what percent of 40? So we translate this into equation. 16 is, remember is stands for the equal symbol, equal sign. Percent, we use the letter P. Of is multiplication, and of 40, of course, 40 would be here. Now to isolate P, we divide both sides by 40. So P times 40 divided by 40 equals 16 divided by 40. So now we have isolated P. So 16 divided by 40 is P. And 16 divided by 40 is equal to 0.4. It's equal to P. So in other words, 40% equals P. For number 12, we set up the equation this way. What percent of $84 is $10.50? So we say P for percent of course, this multiplication, 84 equals 1050. To isolate P, we divide both sides by 84. $10.50 divided by 84. So we've isolated P on the left side. We have P. And 1050 divided by 84 is 0.125. This means that P is equal to 12.5%, 12.5%, or 12.5%. You can write it in this form or in that form. So 12.5%, 12.5% rather, or 12.5%. And this is the end of section 6.3.